Okay, hello there once again. I have been asked by some of you in the class to show you how to stretch paper for painting on with watercolour. The thing about watercolour is you use water, and sometimes you can use a lot of water if you're doing washes. And I usually use watercolour just for sketching in my sketchbook, and it makes the pages crinkle up a bit. It doesn't really matter. If you're just doing an exercise or doing a quick sketch, that's fine. But if you want to do a watercolour painting which is to be presented, to be exhibited, you want to mount it and frame it, then you really want it to stay flat. It looks very bad if it's crinkled. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do this. And the principle is we're going to stretch the watercolour paper so that it actually dries flat. And then whatever you do, however much water you use on it, it might crinkle up a bit, but it will go back to its stretched status. That's the idea. So for this, you will need some paper, obviously, and you can use expensive watercolour paper if you want, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you some heavyweight cartridge paper. This is 200-gram cartridge. It's just a sheet of A4, and you can get this Dala Rowney supply this. You'll also need a board, and it must be a wooden board. And one of the things you're going to have to do is you're going to have to cut the paper away from the board, so you might actually scratch the board. This one side of this board is very scratched. That's part of the course, I'm afraid. So what I do with this drawing board, which I've had since I was a student, is one side I keep smooth for taping paper on for life drawing, that type of thing. The other side I use for watercolour, and that's the side that gets the scratches. Another important thing you'll need is this stuff called gum strip. Now, gum strip is basically just brown paper with gum on one side, which you can wet. Do not use any other tape. Don't use parcel tape, masking tape, sellotape. I've seen people do it. I don't know why they do it. It does not work. It will not hold your paper. It's not water resistant, and it just will not hold your paper down at all. So it must be this stuff called gum strip, which you're going to get very wet, and this needs to dry out as well. But this is again is not very expensive. It's the stuff that used to be used for brown paper packages tied up with string, but now it's almost exclusively used as an art material. The other thing you'll need is a craft knife, which for something like this, just for cutting it away, and I'll show you whereabouts you need to cut that, but something like that, very simple, like a craft knife. And you'll need some water. Now, just over the side here, I think hopefully you can see it, is I've got a little tray of water. You can probably just do this by the sink, this part, do it in on the kitchen worktop or something like that. But I'm in my living room, so I need something to actually wet it in. So let's start, shall we? What we're going to do is start off with this sheet of paper, and I'm going to put it in this tray and wet it thoroughly. And make it totally wet, put it under the water, hold it down like this, so that it's actually wet. You can run it under the tap, but make sure it's wet both sides. And then you put it down onto the middle of your drawing board like that. Now, when paper is wet, it expands. So that's what's happening here. And then we get our gum strip. What I need to do is rip off some pieces of gum strip which are bigger than the length and the width of the paper. So here we have one for that top. Whoops. One for the bottom, one for, as you can see, it curls up, but don't worry about that. One for this side, and one for this side. Okay, now you can lick it if you want, but as we've got water here, I thought, why don't we just get it in here? So what I'm going to do is, with the paper stretched out here, I will now it doesn't have to go too far over. I'm only doing it about less than half an inch, just less than half an inch, maybe 1 centimetre going over the paper. Smooth this out so it's actually this way. I'm going to do the top now. Okay. You can see I'm doing it longer than the actual paper is. It doesn't have to be as long as I'm doing it, but it just has to be quite long. Okay, and then it's buckling up, so I'm just going to move this over here. Make sure you've got clean hands. Let's do this side here. the moment it's buckling up, but as it dries it won't, it will dry flat and it will stay like that. And then one at the bottom here. And that's basically it. So as you can see, it's a wooden board, so the water will soak away into it. We got this gum strip, which is basically paper, so there's nothing plastic or anything that's water resistant, and that will eventually dry. Some people, you know, if you want to speed it up, you can use hair dryers, but basically I'm going to leave it like that. Now when you cut it off, you've done your painting, you can do as much washing as you like. Basically what I would do is you just cut it, and you basically cut into where under the gum strip where the paper ends, then you just cut into it like that. And what you will end up with, I'll just show you some paintings I've got over here, which are from a long time ago. But can you see how this painting here has that little slither of gum strip around it? So you have to take into account that you're going to use, you're not going to use the whole of your size, your A4. This is actually on a watercolour paper. These are quite nice. I quite like these. I might exhibit these. This one's even more abstract, but as you can see, I tend to get things dirty. But anyway, I'm going to I can get these mounted, so get rid of the bits I don't like, and you can get rid of the gum strip. But you're going to use, the paper will end up slightly smaller than whatever size you do. So that's basically it. What I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to leave it, probably might leave it out in the sun or whatever, and just leave it to dry it. And then I've got this perfect support to paint on. So that's what I want you to do. Stretch your paper and let's see what you come up with. Thank you.